Brothers and sisters, the American labor movement has been under assault for decades, but never more viciously than in recent years. But the labor movement will not die because of activists like you and leaders like our next guest. We are thrilled to have the leader of the American labor movement with us today, our friend and our brother, Rich Trumka. Starting with that fantastic jobs rally in downtown Los Angeles 2 years ago, on the final day of our Anaheim convention that was organized by the AFL-CIO, and continuing to this day, Rich and the other leaders of the AFL-CIO have stood shoulder to shoulder with us to save the U.S. Postal Service. He and I have met with President Obama, his chief of staff, his budget director, and countless other administrative officials in the White House. And Rich has raised his voice in support of letter carriers in the halls of Congress. He understands our issues, and he fights for us each and every day. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Rich Trumka, President of the AFL-CIO. Come on up, Brother Trumka.
Fred, I want to thank you for having a good old Pittsburgh band here to lead me home. I want to thank the band and thank you for being from Pittsburgh. We love you. I also want to thank each and every one of you and say it's great to see you all. And I want to thank Fred, my brother, and quite frankly, my friend and my close confidant, for inviting me to be here with you with one of the strongest, the most patriotic, and most essential unions in America. And I want to thank you, Fred, for making the letter carriers relief staff the backbone of labor's political program. I want to say thank you, public, for that, and to each one of your members and all of your board for everything you do there. You know, few things legitimize a country more than its postal service. Dependable mail delivery is a core function of any national government. And the mail, quite frankly, should not be political, not any more than highways or bridges or schools. All of us should respect the United States Postal Service. But somebody forgot to tell Representative Darrell Issa, and the Republican leadership. You see, Darrell Issa has built his political ambitions on wrecking a service that's older than our nation itself. He doesn't care that our postal service is part of the glue that holds our national community together. And he doesn't care that a post office can keep a small town like the one I came from alive and vibrant. He doesn't even care about the businesses, the pharmaceutical companies, the printers and magazine publishers, and so many others who rely on dependable mail delivery, not 5 days a week, but 6 days a week because it's essential to them. And I can tell you, he sure doesn't care about you. But unlike him, you do care. And I care because of the incredible, reliable job that you do 6 days a week, year after year. Millions and millions of Americans care too. They care because of you. You are America's Postal Service, and we'll never let anybody take that away from us, right? Right? You know, I thought about you a lot this summer. Record heat waves. I thought about you a lot on the days when the Washington heat rose to over 100 degrees. I thought about how you get the job done no matter what. And what a sorry contrast that makes with the Washington politicians who spend their time scapegoating and finger-pointing instead of solving our national problems. And this week, after the tragic killings at that movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, I thought about the character of our country, what it's all about. Because at those shootings made so very clear, we don't have time to spend on things that don't matter. What makes this country special isn't the CEOs who care only about money. It isn't the politicians who could not care less about who gets hurt by their posturing. What makes this country great is the people like you who care about getting the job done, who care about each other, who care about the elderly and the disabled and the lonely in the neighborhoods that you keep an eye on day after day. Who cares about the future of our country? That's what makes this country great. Those of us that build it and wake it up every day and make it run and then put it to sleep at night. You see, in so many ways, that proposition is being tested this year. Quite frankly, our nation's being tested this year. Brothers and sisters, we know that we have a crisis in American life and in America's economy. But I want to tell you something. It's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity that we in the labor movement are going to seize. We're going to grab a hold of it and stand it on its head and use it to rebuild the middle class and to rebuild our country and to take back that country that we built every day. I got to be honest with you, and I don't want to sound glib, but quite frankly, there's no time in our history than now that I'd rather be a leader in the American labor movement than right now. See, I'm not afraid of the future. I'm ready for the fight. And I know together that we'll face the test and we'll not only survive it, we'll thrive because of it, right? And here's how we're going to go forward. You see, we're going to go back to the basics of unionism, back to the roots that make us strong. And brothers and sisters, you know as well as I do that we're very, very strong. Your union is strong. You have deep roots in every corner of our great country. You walk your routes every day, in every city, in every town, in any size, in all 50 of the states. And everywhere you go, you're the personification of responsible public service. You deliver the mail with pride and with professionalism and patriotism, and I salute you for it. I salute you for your activism and your solidarity and your commitment to our vision of a prosperous nation with real opportunity for everyone who's willing to work hard to get ahead. You see, we do work hard in America. Of course we do. We also take pride in our jobs because along with our families and our faith, work is what defines us. But hard work alone doesn't always yield fair wages and good benefits or a decent retirement. And it never has. But hard work plus activism, your activism, can make the American dream come true for the next great American middle class, and it will. You see, you brothers and sisters, you see, we're going to save the Postal Service from the false patriots who claim to love America but keep tearing apart our fabric, our foundations. We're going to save the Postal Service from any Republican or Democrat who don't understand that compromising with destruction is destruction itself, and we don't want any part of it, and our country doesn't need any part of it. You see, that's just a start. Because I believe that history will show that your union helped America understand that activism must extend from the ballot box to the mail route, from public space to the workplace. And that's how we'll rebuild the American dream, with activism. And I want to be honest with you. Your union is leading the way. You see, America needs to understand at the gut level, at the primal level, that the single most effective long-term American economic stimulus program is a union contract. You see, America, collective bargaining can and will set the regional and national standards for good wages and good benefits and secure retirements. And Americans need to understand that union workers are secure workers, and secure workers are confident consumers, and confident consumers are what makes the economy, American economy, grow. You see, our economy is 72% driven by consumer spending. So it's not just the right thing to do, it's an essential thing to do if you want the country to grow and prosper and reward hard work. See, the right of workers to organize and bargain collectively and raise our voices together is just as important to our great nation as the right to vote. And so I'm going to ask each and every one of you to look for ways to stand with workers in your hometown, because all of us together will fight for the basic right of every worker in America to form a union. Because if we don't all have it, none of us will win much, and none of us will keep it for long. My grandfather taught me that, and life then proved it to me. See, let's do that. Let's make it real. We'll make it strong, and we'll make it last when we stand together. And I don't mean any of the cheap lip service stuff. I mean real solidarity, because America's hunger right now for unity. America needs solidarity. America needs our solidarity. Brothers and sisters, the strength of our movement is our solidarity, the connections between us. And we're strong because of our trusted and shared responsibility. Our word is our bond, period. And I'm talking about the type of solidarity where your picket line is my picket line, and my picket line is your picket line. And when I see a picket line, I don't ask what it's about. I honor it first and then find out later, right? Fred, I want to tell you a story about my union. I come out of the mine workers, and I was in the mine. It was a nice summer afternoon. It was Friday, and I was on second shift. I was working from 4 to 12. I was 20 years old, and I thought, man, the last thing in the world I really want to do right now is have to go to that mine on a nice Friday afternoon. So going to the mine is a long, straight stretch, and I can see the cars pulling up into the mine and turning around and coming back out. And I said, we're on strike. Why are we on strike? I'm on the committee. I don't know of any issues. I wonder what's happening. So I pull into the parking lot, and I see 3 nurses. All of them are dressed in uniform. One of them was a girl that I graduated with, and I said, Mary Ann, I said, why are you picketing us out? And she's crying. She said, we're not picketing you out, Rich. This was a blood drive. We were passing out informations for a blood drive, and your guys thought it was a picket line, and they turned around and went home. You want me to tell you the best part of the story? We also had a rule that said first out, first back. So since afternoon shift was out on Friday afternoon, midnight shift on Sunday, and day shift on Monday didn't go back to work either, we went back to work on Monday afternoon. I did get everybody to go to the blood drive, however. I tell you that story just to point out one thing. That's the type of solidarity that we need. Because when you get cut, I bleed. And when any of our brothers and sisters get weakened, all of us get weakened. And when a unit gets locked out, it's not their fight. It's our fight. And that's how we got to address this. The assault on the Postal Service isn't just your fight. It's the fight of every last trade unionist in this country and every American in this country, and we're going to make sure that we bind together and win that fight for the good of all of us. You see, those are the values that we share, and I want to talk about a leader who shares my thoughts about responsibility, a man who I urge your union, the letter carriers, to endorse for a second term in the White House. You see, President Barack Obama has taken the United States through some tough times, and he's done it with courage, and he's done it with conviction. And he supported veterans and military families. And let's not forget who was the commander-in-chief when Osama bin Laden was brought to justice courtesy of SEAL Team 6. This summer, President Obama called on Congress to bring good jobs home and to end the tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires and to extend tax cuts for the middle class. And the far right and the 1%, well, they've been pounding him ever since. You gotta say, what's the problem? Well, here's a thought that I had, that if Romney and the right wing say that we can't pay for better schools and safe highways, if we can't afford teachers and postal carriers, and we can't keep our promises to public workers, well then we sure as hell can't afford any more tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, and I'd say it's time that that came to an end as well. And President Obama has ended the rush to privatize everything in the federal government. And it's a good thing, because it turns out that places like the post office are more, not equal, not less, but more efficient than your competitors. See, your parcel post keeps growing by leaps and bounds, and you practically organized FedEx through the back door because they contract for you for that very last mile. You know, I can't figure something out. Without that last mile, it just don't work, does it? So why does the Republican establishment want to sacrifice America at the feet of the 1%? Why are we paying the moving expenses for companies who close down here and ship jobs overseas? See, brothers and sisters, I'm pretty angry about what's happening in Washington. I keep wondering to myself, why is it wrong to ask everybody to pay their fair share? Why is it wrong to talk about common sense ways to raise the dollars that we need to put America back to work? And why is it political poison to raise the money that our nation needs to sustain itself and to defend itself and to grow? The answers I keep coming up is that it's insane to do those things. It's crazy. And I want to know how a bill to fix the manufactured pre-funding budget crisis at the Postal Service, a bill with more than 200 co-sponsors, including dozens of Republicans, how that bill can stay bottled up in a House committee. And then how can that same committee push an anti-American piece of legislation that would wreck the post office, that would destroy 200,000 jobs and take bargaining rights away from the most well-liked public institution in America? How does that work? I want to know. Because these politicians, well, they do not share our values. And that matters. Values matter. What we do as individuals, what we do as a nation, says everything about what we are. We want to lead the rest of the world. You can't have 2 out of every 5 kids in your country going to bed hungry every night. You can't have millions of people working in poverty, working every day and still living in poverty. You can't have a cut-rate third world postal service. You can't have those things and expect the world to look at you and with envy and say, this is the country that we want to emulate. It doesn't work that way. You see, we have a job to do. We have a job to do, and it's up to us to make sure that politicians who play those games pay a very, very steep political price come November, regardless of the party that they may call home. And the American people are on our side. The post office has an 80% approval rating. Now, I don't believe that Darrell Issa and John Boehner and Paul Ryan share my values. And I got to tell you, I know that Mitt Romney doesn't share my values. He doesn't care about hard work. He doesn't care that he created and ran a company that pioneered the practice of offshoring good jobs, good union jobs, to China and wherever else that labor is cheap. See, he believes in the Etch-a-Sketch theory. He'll say whatever he thinks that you want to hear. And then after the words get etched out, he goes to the next group of people. He turns Etch-a-Sketch up down and he gets rid of those words and pretend like I never said a thing. Brothers and sisters, Mitt Romney's word is not his bond. It's his convenience. Mitt Romney doesn't know anything about responsibility. Hey, it was profitable for him to bleed companies and to kill jobs and to end pensions and health care in bankruptcy court. And then he'd walk away with millions of dollars. Didn't care. Maybe that's fine for Mitt, but it doesn't fly with me. And it won't fly with working families, and it won't fly in the White House. You see, call me old-fashioned, but I believe it's important to do the right thing. Not Romney. Romney said, and I quote, "Let Detroit go bankrupt." Now, here's a guy that has so little understanding of the American economy that if the auto industry goes down, the rest of manufacturing goes down in this country. And the depression's right on the heels of that, you see. He said that President Obama took the hard road with that one, and he saved the auto industry, and thank God. Because now they're hiring in Detroit, they're hiring in Ohio, they're hiring in Kentucky, and they're hiring in other places because the auto industry is thriving again, starting to pull out of the doldrum. And then I got to tell you, this guy flat out lied about the Postal Service. I know you'll remember this, Fred. He said that the change of address form is 32 pages long. Well, Christ, it's a damn postcard. I mean, it's this big. I got to wonder. I wonder if he's ever been to a post office. He outsources that job to someone else, I'm sure, right? You see, that guy doesn't respect our contracts. You heard the film a little while ago. It's a great video. He doesn't even respect small businesses. He thinks that people who make America work are the problem, not the solution. But Barack Obama knows that workers are the solution. The last thing America needs is a self-serving, privatizing, happy outsourcer like Mitt Romney, who talks out of both sides of his mouth. And by the way, he even outsources his bank accounts. Can you believe Can you believe that a candidate for the President of the United States has secret accounts in the Cayman Islands and Swiss banks? See, that's not the code that we live by. That's not how we build America. Those aren't our values. See, this political season, each of us, every one of us, has every reason to go the extra mile. And we're reaching out beyond our own union halls. We're reaching out to non-union workers this time, for the first time ever. We're reaching out to community allies, and we're building a grassroots movement like America hasn't seen in generations. We're building an independent political program that can run electoral politics and then turn on a dime to hold those leaders accountable just in case they suddenly develop a good old case of amnesia like they seem to do so often. But we'll be there to remind them what they promised and who they promised it to. You see, brothers and sisters, together we're building power for working families, and we're building it to last. And our job is to build an independent movement for working people. We don't exist to serve any political party, and I don't care who asks for the favors. Our job is to build power for workers. You see, we've got our work cut out for us. The road's going to be steep. It'll be long, but we're no strangers to hard work. Your relief staff adds vital strength to our political program, and I want you to know that it's been recognized by everybody in the labor movement, the great job that you do. Think about this now. We have a vision, and we're going to make that vision real because we all chip in. That shared responsibility. We do what it takes. We get the job done. What we want is pretty simple, right? It's what everybody wants. The chance to work hard for a decent life, for health care, for a secure retirement, to give our kids and their kids a better life than we had. And to get it, we got to stand together, because together we are stronger. United, we cannot and we will not be turned aside. You see, we'll work for it, brothers and sisters. We'll stand for it, each of us, together to bring out the best in America and to bring out the best in ourselves and each other, because we know the meaning of work. We know what it takes to win. We've come too far to be turned back now. We won't back down. We won't back up. We won't be denied. This is our country. We build it. We wake it up. We make it run. We put it to sleep every single night. And it's time that we took it back for the 99%. God bless you and keep up the great work.